Most people believe peace comes from silence, luck, or a calm world. But one morning in the small town of Crestwood, a young man named Samuel discovered a truth that would change his life forever. It happened at a moment when everything around him felt loud and chaotic. Yet in the middle of that noise, he heard a quiet lesson that would turn him from an easily shaken boy into a man of unbothered power. Samuel grew up believing that strong people had thick skin. He thought the calm ones were simply born that way. But his mentor, a wise old craftsman named Mr. Ellery, taught him something different one early morning inside the workshop. Samuel would remember that moment long after the wood dust settled and the sun traveled across the sky. Mr. Ellery placed his hand on a small wooden door he had been carving. It was delicate, smooth, and beautifully shaped. Without looking up, he said, "Peace is not something you wait for. It is something you protect." Not with force, but with permission. Samuel frowned. "What does that mean, Mr. Ellery smiled. "It means nothing enters your mind without your yes." Samuel did not understand then, but this was the lesson that would become the foundation of his strength. That day began like any other. The shop smelled of pine and warm varnish. Outside, carts rattled down the main street. People shouted. Horses neighed. A neighbor argued loudly with a merchant. Each sound made Samuel tense. Mr. Ellery noticed. He called Samuel over. "Sit. I want you to learn the first law of being unbothered." Samuel sat on a stool. Mr. Ellery placed a wooden door in front of him. "Everyone has a door like this," he began. "That door leads to your inner world, your peace, your purpose. Most people leave it wide open. Anything can walk inside. A rude comment. A false worry. A careless opinion. A small delay. A neighbor's anger." Samuel nodded slowly. "But the wisest people," Mr. Ellery continued, "appoint a gatekeeper at this door. Not a guard with anger. A guard with purpose. With purpose comes selection. With selection comes peace." Samuel stared at the door. It seemed simple, yet something inside him shifted. Mr. Ellery continued. "Offense sneaks in only when the gatekeeper is not at his post. Insults enter only when we let them. A stranger's tone becomes our storm only if we welcome it." Samuel felt a small spark inside him. "Do you mean I am letting people control me, Mr. Ellery gave a firm nod. "You have been giving away your authority with every quick reaction. Today we begin to reclaim it." He handed Samuel a small brush. "I want you to clean this door. Slowly. Gently. As you do, think of each stroke as removing an old habit of reacting without thought." Samuel dipped the brush in oil and began. Each moment felt slower. Quieter. More intentional. For the first time, he noticed his mind becoming still. Mr. Ellery spoke again. "To live unbothered, you must become sensitive. Not to what others say, but to what you allow to stay. You must choose which thoughts enter and which thoughts are sent away." Samuel felt the meaning settling deep. Mr. Ellery raised his finger. "A furnace does not argue with the cold. It simply keeps its fire. So must you. As the morning passed, Samuel continued brushing. He imagined the small wooden door as his own inner door. Every stroke made him clearer. Every stroke made him stronger. Then a loud crash echoed outside. A cart overturned in the street. The merchant shouted angrily. People gathered. Voices rose. Samuel flinched. His heart raced. He began to stand to see what was happening. Mr. Ellery tapped the table. "Sit." Samuel sat again, confused. "What do you gain by running toward every noise?" Mr. Ellery asked. "What purpose does it serve?" Samuel hesitated. "None, correct. The world will always shout. The question is, will you allow every shout to move you?" Samuel shook his head. "Good. Now here is the first rule. Govern your focus. Direct it daily, deliberately, repeatedly. If you do not guide your attention, the world will guide it for you. Mr. Ellery took a deep breath. The second rule. Govern your interpretation. Two people can walk the same road. One curses the wind. The other uses it to fill his sails. The difference is not in the wind. It is in the interpretation. Samuel pictured two travelers. He understood. He felt himself growing. The third rule. Govern your state before the day begins. A steady tone, an open face, a composed posture. These are armor finer than steel. Samuel sat taller. The fourth rule. Give your best hours to the work that truly advances your purpose. Let distractions wait in the afternoon where they belong. The fifth rule. Refuse unauthorized entry. Dismiss unworthy suggestions without debate. The doorkeeper does not argue with vagabonds. Samuel laughed quietly. The image made sense. Mr. Ellery leaned closer. Habit will make this easy. What feels hard now will soon feel natural. With repetition, your inner order becomes your strength. Samuel listened to every word. Now, 3 declarations. Engrave them upon your heart. He raised 3 fingers. Point 1. I am not a reed to every wind. I am the helmsman. Point 2. I choose meanings that serve my purpose. Point 3. That which does not help me cannot hold me. Samuel repeated them softly, feeling the weight of each sentence. Mr. Ellery stood, walked to the window, and looked outside. The crowd had already moved on. The street was calm again. He turned back to Samuel. Do you see, the world is loud for a moment, then it passes. The only true disturbance is the one you let inside. Samuel breathed deeply. For the first time, he felt like the world's noise no longer owned him. Mr. Ellery placed a hand on his shoulder. Today you begin learning the royal art of response. No one can plant irritation in you without your consent. Withdraw that consent. Govern your reactions. Samuel nodded with new strength. I will. Good. Then today, you step into your purpose. Today, you begin mastering the gatekeeper within. Samuel looked at the small wooden door again. It was clean. Clear. Beautiful. And so, for the first time, was his mind. Part 1 ends here. Let me know when you want Part 2. Part 2, The Quiet Court. Within engaging hook. Samuel thought he understood strength after learning the lesson of the inner gatekeeper. But on a rainy afternoon, when a stranger's careless words nearly pulled him into an old habit, Samuel discovered something deeper. He learned that true peace does not come from silence or perfect days. It comes from building a private court inside yourself where only truth is allowed to enter. And on that day, Samuel began the second stage of his transformation. The morning had started simply. Samuel woke with a calm mind, repeating the 3 declarations Mr. Ellery had taught him. I am the helmsman. I choose meanings that serve my purpose. What does not help me cannot hold me. He felt steady as he walked to the workshop. The air smelled of wet soil as the sky hung low with rain clouds. Inside the workshop, Mr. Ellery waited beside a new piece of wood that rested on the table, smooth as river stone. He said, Today we begin building your inner court. Every strong person has one. It is the place inside you that no insult can enter and no noise can rule. Samuel listened closely. He knew this next lesson would shape him in ways he had not yet imagined. Before they could begin, the shop door creaked open and a passing townsman stepped inside. The man was loud, annoyed about something small, and quick to throw out sharp remarks. Without thinking, he pointed at the unfinished carving and laughed, calling it crooked. Samuel felt heat rise in his chest. His jaw tightened. He wanted to reply, to defend himself, to strike back. But Mr. Ellery touched Samuel lightly on the shoulder. Wait. Do nothing yet. When the man left, Mr. Ellery looked at Samuel and said, Did you feel it, the invitation to a battle that is not yours? Samuel nodded. Yes. It felt strong. That is exactly why we must build your inner court, Mr. Ellery said. People will speak without thinking. People will judge without knowing. People will measure your work with a dull pencil. You must learn to decline their test. Samuel breathed slowly. Declining the test sounded easier in words than in practice. Mr. Ellery began shaping the wood with gentle strokes. He said, In your inner court there are statutes. These statutes protect you from the world's clamor. Today, I will teach you the first 7. Samuel stood ready. First statute, standards you can prove by practice. Choose a few noble measures for your life. Truthfulness. Diligence. Fairness. Courage. Then keep a daily record of actions that match them. When you have evidence of your own excellence, you do not need applause. Evidence is quiet thunder. Samuel repeated the list softly. It felt powerful. Second statute, separate counsel from clamor. Counsel is given with care. Clamor is thrown like gravel. Before you accept any message into your heart, examine the messenger. Do they live the wisdom they speak? Do they celebrate your success without envy? Have they earned the right to advise? If not, nod politely and keep working. Samuel remembered the loud man from moments ago. He understood what Mr. Ellery meant. Third statute, the sieve of 3M words: motive, method, merit. Ask why someone said something, how they said it, and whether any part of it holds truth. If even one of those fails, release the words back to the earth. Samuel imagined catching every remark in his mind and running it through the sieve. It made him feel lighter. Fourth statute, response by ritual. When correction comes, do 4 things. Breathe. Repeat the message in neutral words. Ask a question for clarity. Then thank or excuse yourself gently and return to your purpose. You are a farmer, not a street performer. Your harvest grows in the fields, not in the crowd. Samuel smiled. The image felt true. Fifth statute, mastery over praise. Sweet words can intoxicate faster than sharp words wound. Accept praise kindly, but store it in the attic, not the throne room. Let progress be your true reward. Sixth statute, the mirror at night. Before sleep, review your day. Ask yourself where you stood firm, where you bent, and what you will repair in the morning. This quiet evening audit gives strength to tomorrow. Seventh statute, the vow of direction. Speak this every morning. I move where principle points, not where shouting points. In time, you will walk this vow without speaking it. Samuel repeated it inside himself. It felt like a compass being placed in his hand. Mr. Ellery stepped back and looked at Samuel with pride. These statutes become the pillars of your inner court. But there is more. You must learn to hold steady when unearned opinion flies at you like an arrow. There is a cloak that turns arrows to dust. It is called indifference to unearned opinion. Wear it without apology. Samuel breathed deeply, imagining such a cloak settling across his shoulders. Now, Mr. Ellery continued, let us go deeper. There is a chamber inside you that no intruder can enter. Step into it whenever trouble tries to grab your sleeve. Today you claim that chamber. Rain began tapping against the windows as the workshop warmed with the smell of cut wood. The world outside felt restless, but inside Samuel felt something opening, widening, strengthening. Mr. Ellery said, to rule that chamber, you must follow the next decrees. First decree, begin the day in stillness before sound. Sit in quiet. Breathe. Let your thoughts line up like soldiers. Name your main aim and bless the work that serves it. Second decree, create intervals of silence throughout the day. 10 minutes of hush will save 10 hours of confusion. Third decree, walk lightly through disturbance. The pot that simmers slowly never boils over. Let your pace set the room, not the noise around you. Fourth decree, choose your inputs as a gardener chooses seeds. Select only what leads to wisdom and courage. Let all other information pass like wind across water. Fifth decree, carry a sanctuary object. Something small that brings you back to center when the world pulls sideways. Samuel reached into his pocket and held the small wooden token Mr. Ellery had carved for him on his first day. This, he thought, would be his anchor. Sixth decree, keep your body in good partnership with your spirit. Rest well. Drink water. Eat for clarity. A rested body is a defended mind. Seventh decree, protect your focus. One task at a time. One promise at a time. This guards your power. Eighth decree, honor solitude. Speak with yourself. Ask what matters now. Do that and end. Ninth decree, end the day as you began it, with quiet. Record 3 wins, 3 lessons, and 1 line of gratitude. 10th decree, take small retreats during work. Step outside. Feel the air. Reset your mind. 11th decree, keep a phrase ready. Peace first. 12th decree, befriend slowness. Panic improves nothing. Samuel felt a long breath leave his body. The decrees felt like tools he had needed for years. Then came the final teaching of the day. Mr. Ellery drew 3 circles on the table with a piece of chalk. In the innermost circle live your truest duties. In the second circle live your chosen alliances. In the third circle live acquaintances and passers-by. Confusion begins when you treat the outer circle as the inner circle. Peace begins when every circle keeps its order. Samuel stared at the circles for a long time. He saw his life in them. He saw his peace in them. He felt something inside him settle, as if the rain had washed his thoughts clean. Mr. Ellery placed a hand on Samuel's back. These lessons are not theories. They are choices. Practice them. Build your inner court. Protect it with purpose. And you will become hard to disturb, always. Samuel nodded, feeling the truth settle inside him like a stone finding its place. End of part 2. Say. Send part 3. When you are ready. Engaging hook. There comes a moment in every life when a person must decide what will shape them. The world or their own inner compass. Some people spend years chasing approval, applause, and attention, while others learn the greatest power of all, the ability to walk in calm purpose even when others demand chaos. This is the moment when an ordinary person becomes unstoppable. This is the moment when you rise. Part 3. The discipline of calm power. Jonathan woke before the sun again. The world outside was quiet, but inside he felt a storm. Not a storm of fear, but a storm of choices. He understood something clearly now. Success was not built on one great moment. It was built on many small moments where he trained his mind to hold its shape no matter who tried to bend it. He remembered Mr. Alder's words. A man becomes powerful the day he stops being controlled by other people's moods. Jonathan thought about how often he had let others pull him into their noise. He now realized something important. Chaos only enters through open doors. Calm is a door you keep locked. So he made a decision that morning. He would no longer rush toward every argument. He would no longer answer every message instantly. He would no longer react to every emotion around him. Instead, he would build inner walls the way a builder creates a strong foundation. Quietly and with intention. He began with the practice of proof. If someone wanted a place in his inner circle, they had to show consistency. Not big promises. Not sweet words. Just steady behavior. The people who respected his pace would naturally come closer. The people who thrived on confusion would drift away. He did not need to push them. Life would handle that work. Jonathan watched something interesting happen. The moment he stopped chasing, people began respecting him more. His tone changed. His steps slowed. His eyes stayed clear. He felt as if he had stepped into a new identity. Not louder, just stronger. One evening, an old friend tried to pull him into an argument. The friend threw sarcasm. Then blame. Then guilt. In the past, Jonathan would have defended himself for an entire hour. But not this time. He simply replied calmly, "That does not work for me." Then he ended the conversation and went for a walk. As he moved down the street, he felt something powerful rise inside him. This is what strength feels like, he thought. Every day he practiced calm replies. He kept them short and final. "I have settled my decision. I cannot take that on right now. I wish you well." He realized these simple sentences saved him hours of stress. He also learned the power of movement. When a conversation grew heated, he changed the environment. He stood up. He walked. He changed rooms. Movement cooled the fire and gave him a new angle to think from. He no longer argued to win. He simply protected his peace. Jonathan also started a quiet ledger in his mind. He watched for patterns. Not mistakes, because everyone makes mistakes. He watched for repeated behavior. Patterns told the truth long before people did. When someone showed a pattern of disrespect, he slowly moved them outward. He did not punish them. He simply created distance. More space between calls. Shorter replies. Fewer invitations. All done kindly and without drama. One night he wrote in his notebook. "Trust slowly. Forgive quickly. But never ignore what keeps repeating." That line stayed with him for weeks. Jonathan also learned the power of the appeal to higher ground. When disagreements came, he invited the conversation back to principles. "Let us be fair. Let us speak one at a time. Let us discuss what we both know for certain." Conflict lost its poison when guided by principles. But the lesson that changed him most was the lesson of silence. Silence was no longer emptiness to him. Silence became a tool, a teacher, a shield. He discovered that many pressures disappeared when he simply gave himself time to think. The world demands instant answers. A wise man does not. He remembered something his grandfather once told him. "Never let anyone rush your spirit." Jonathan repeated that line quietly as he walked through the park one morning. The wind carried the words across the field like they belonged to the air itself. Every night before sleep, Jonathan reviewed his circles. Who brought peace? Who brought strain? Who showed growth? Who repeated the same harm? He moved one name inward. He moved one name outward. This gentle practice reshaped his life. In a month he felt lighter. In a year he felt transformed. People began saying he seemed different. Some said he looked calmer. Others said he carried himself with a quiet confidence. He never explained his changes. He did not need to. His behavior showed everything. Jonathan had learned a truth that many never discover. You cannot control the weather of the world, but you can carry your own climate. And when you carry peace within you, those who honor your peace will draw closer. Those who feed on chaos will drift away like leaves in the wind. He walked down the street one morning with steady steps, unhurried breath, and a calm smile. He had become a man who no longer stumbled over the same stone each day. He had moved the stone once. Now he walked freely. Jonathan understood now. Power is not loud. Power is calm shape. Power is quiet order. Power is choosing your pace and protecting it. And now he was ready for part 4 of his journey. If you want full 1,000 words, just say, backhand index pointing right. Make part 3 a full 1,000 words. Engaging hook. Every person reaches a day when they realize success is not hidden in luck or talent. It is hidden in order. When your life becomes clear, your path becomes clear. When your environment supports your purpose strengthens you. A person does not rise by accident. A person rises by arrangement. Today is the day Jonathan learns that the mind becomes powerful only when the world around it stops pulling it apart. Part 4. The Laws of Inner Order. Jonathan woke with a new sense of responsibility. He had mastered calm, but now he needed mastery of structure. He looked around his room and noticed something interesting. His desk was cluttered. His clothes were half folded. His notes were scattered. It was a small storm around him, and he understood something clearly. A storm on the outside quietly becomes a storm on the inside. He remembered reading once that a person's environment is a silent mentor. It trains you even when you are not paying attention. A sloppy room trains a sloppy mind. A calm room trains a calm mind. Jonathan made a commitment that morning. He would build a world that supported the man he wanted to become, not the man he had been. He began with prearrangement. The night before, he started setting the next day in order. His tools in place. His top 3 priorities written. His schedule clear. He discovered something life-changing. When he prepared his morning at night, the morning welcomed him like a prepared stage. Instead of entering chaos, he entered clarity. Next, he practiced single lanes. He no longer jumped between tasks. He chose one task, completed it, then closed it fully. Each completion gave him energy. Each unfinished task used his energy like sand grinding gears. He felt lighter with each loop he closed. Jonathan also created default choices. He decided once how he would begin his day. He decided once how he would end his day. He decided once which invitations he would always decline. These decisions freed him from daily debates. He realized that repeated decisions waste strength. Default decisions save it. He noticed something powerful when he used the rule of nearest ease. He placed the items he used most often within easy reach. He placed temptations far away from his sight and his hands. His life became smoother. His days felt less heavy. He understood now why great people practice simplicity. Simplicity does not make life smaller. It makes life clearer. Then Jonathan practiced shortening the path. He kept work tools near his work. He kept rest items near his rest. He stopped mixing categories. No more eating where he worked. No more working where he slept. He realized each category has its own energy. Mixing energies creates confusion. Separating them creates strength. As the days passed, Jonathan became a master of tiny thresholds. He no longer waited for the perfect moment. He began tasks with the smallest step possible. 1 minute. 1 line. 1 gesture. The small entry dissolved resistance. He discovered the secret behind great achievements. Great rooms are entered through small doors. Every few days he looked for petty leaks. He fixed little things that bothered him. A squeaky hinge. A messy drawer. A loose button. He realized every annoyance steals attention. When he fixed these small leaks, he felt his mind grow sharper. His focus returned to him like a loyal friend. Jonathan also prepared scripts of courtesy. Instead of struggling with pressure, he used simple prepared phrases. That will not fit today. I have already given that hour. I am keeping this simple. These sentences felt like tools made of calm steel. They protected his boundaries without conflict. He adopted rhythm over speed. The world rushed around him, but Jonathan kept a steady pace. He discovered something important. A steady rhythm outlasts a sprint. Speed burns out. Rhythm builds mastery. When others stalled, he continued. When others panicked, he stayed even. He practiced checkpoint breathing between tasks. A slow inhale. A longer exhale. Named the next clear action. A small pause that steadied his body and sharpened his mind. The hour obeyed the person who owned their breath. At night he cleaned the bookends of his day. He began with order. He ended with order. He reviewed his wins, removed his tangles, and set one bright aim for dawn. The more he cleaned his beginnings and endings, the smoother his days became. Jonathan learned the ritual of repair. When he failed or drifted, he did not punish himself. He did not create drama. He simply returned. Reset the desk. Reset the mood. Restart the task. He discovered that greatness does not live in perfection. Greatness lives in the ability to return. One evening, as he sat at his desk, he began a new list titled Peacekeepers. Every time a practice made his life easier, he wrote it down. This list became a map of serenity. He began guarding it as treasure. After a few weeks, his mind felt sharper. His days felt lighter. His choices felt stronger. Jonathan had learned a principle that many never master. The world rarely bothers the person who has oiled their hinges. Life flows around a prepared person. Trouble does not stick to someone who moves with order. He smiled one morning as he placed his tools for the next day. He realized he was no longer fighting life. He was gliding through it. He was ready for part 5 of his journey. If you want full 1,000 words, just say, backhand index pointing right. Make part 4 a full 1,000 words. Engaging hook. Every person meets a moment when they must confront the quiet thief of their potential. It does not break doors. It does not shout. It simply enters through silence and disguises itself as urgency, guilt, or charm. This thief steals peace. This thief steals clarity. This thief steals direction. But the day you learn to expose it, the day you learn to guard your decisions, you take back the steering wheel of your life. Today Jonathan learns a truth that Napoleon Hill often repeated. A person who masters their choices becomes a person who masters their destiny. Part 5. The Shields of Clarity and Power. Jonathan felt a powerful shift as he continued strengthening his life. He had learned calm, order, and intention. But now he faced something deeper. Something inside him whispered that he was still vulnerable to the emotional hunger of others. People pulled at him with their needs, their emergencies, their expectations, their opinions. And although he was calmer now, he still felt drained by the pressure to say yes. One morning he sat with Mr. Aldergan. The old man watched Jonathan quietly and finally said something that struck him deeply. Most people lose their peace not because they lack kindness, but because they lack clarity. Jonathan felt the truth of those words like a weight lifting from his shoulders. Mr. Alder continued. Manipulation is not always evil. Sometimes it is simply the habit of people who never learn to carry their own responsibilities. But whether gentle or sharp, manipulation feeds on one thing: unexamined consent. That afternoon Jonathan began his new training. He would guard his mind the way a wise leader guards a gate. His first shield was clarity of terms. Before agreeing to anything, he stopped and defined the request in simple language. What exactly is being asked? How long will it take? What will it cost me? What am I expected to give? He discovered that most pressures dissolved the moment he brought them into the light. His second shield was the triad of tests: authority, fairness, and future. Authority asked, who truly has the right to ask this of me? Jonathan realized many demands came from people who had never earned a place of authority in his life. Fairness asked, is this exchange balanced? He noticed that some relationships were built like uneven scales. He gave energy but received stress. He gave time but received confusion. Fairness became his compass. Future asked, what will this choice teach others to expect? Jonathan understood this test more deeply than the rest. Every yes becomes a lesson. When you say yes too quickly, people think you are always available. When you say yes without thought, people learn to skip respect. He realized that his choices created his future environment. One evening someone tried to push him into a rushed decision. Before, he would have felt guilty or pressured. Now he simply repeated the test silently in his mind. Authority does not apply here. Fairness is not present. The future cost is too high. So he replied with calm confidence. That will not work for me. And he moved on. He felt a wave of strength rise inside him. Jonathan also noticed how some people bait conflict. A sarcastic remark? A mocking tone? A loud complaint? Before, he would have reacted and defended himself. Now he practiced refusing bait. He smiled. He redirected. Or he excused himself. Without fuel, the fire died instantly. The more he applied these shields, the more he felt his inner world expand. It was like cleaning the fog from a window. He could finally see his own direction clearly. He realized how much power he had given away in the past simply because he feared disappointing others. Now he honored a new principle. His peace was not a luxury. His peace was a requirement. Jonathan also learned the value of alliances that matched his tempo. He noticed something profound. Some people lived in storms. Their thoughts were storms. Their conversations were storms. Their decisions were storms. Being near them felt like standing in a wind that blew in every direction. But others lived like seasons. Predictable. Steady. Thoughtful. Peaceful. Being near them felt like walking through a warm field at dawn. He understood now that success grows best in the company of peaceful people. So he walked with the seasonal ones. The lesson that changed him most came in the form of silence. His oldest friend, Silence, had now become his advisor. He owed no one an instant reply. When something disturbed his balance, he stepped back. He breathed. He thought. He consulted his own map. He answered only when he chose, never when pushed. At night, Jonathan reviewed the circles of his life. He moved one name inward. Someone who showed character, honesty, and consistency. He moved one name outward. Someone who brought chaos or confusion. He thanked those who protected his peace. This nightly ritual became sacred to him. In 1 month he felt lighter. In 1 season he felt wiser. In 1 year he would feel reborn. Jonathan now walked with a new energy. His posture was steady. His gaze was clear. His tone was unhurried. His steps were measured. People noticed. Those who honored him drew closer. Those who fed on chaos drifted away. He finally understood something deep. You do not need the world to change its weather. You need only to carry your own. And now he was ready for the final part of his journey. Part 6. If you want full 1,000 words, just say, backhand index pointing right. Make Part 5 a full 1,000 words. Engaging hook. Every journey reaches a moment when a person must step across the invisible line between who they were and who they were born to become. The world does not announce this moment with trumpets. It arrives quietly. It arrives through a decision made alone. It arrives when a person finally says, I will no longer live by accident. I will live by design. Jonathan has reached that moment. And like Napoleon Hill taught, once a person claims a definite purpose and protects it with discipline, calm, and courage, life itself begins to obey. Part 6. Final part. The unshakable mind. Jonathan stood by the water one early morning. The river moved with purpose. Slow at the edges. Strong at the center. He wondered how many people spent their lives at the edges, drifting in circles, never entering the current of their own destiny. Mr. Alder walked beside him and spoke in a steady voice. There comes a day when a person must seal their transformation with action. Wisdom becomes power only when it is lived. You have trained your focus. You have shaped inner peace. You have set boundaries. Now you must build a life that reflects the strength you have gained. Jonathan listened closely. He felt the truth settle in his chest. Everything he had learned was preparing him for this final step. He had learned that silence was strength. He had learned that clarity was a shield. He had learned that peace was a choice. Now he had to turn these lessons into a way of living, That morning, Mr. Alder gave him the final principles of mastery. The first principle was the crown of direction. A person must begin each day with a single question. What is the one action that moves me toward my purpose? Jonathan adopted this immediately. Each morning he wrote one clear sentence that defined his highest intention. Not 10 things. Not 20. 1. And he directed his entire energy toward it. The second principle was ownership of mind. Jonathan finally understood something Hill had repeated. Minds left open invite worry, fear, and doubt. Minds that are directed invite courage, faith, and success. So Jonathan learned to fill his mind before the world filled it for him. He read powerful words each morning. He repeated his purpose aloud. He planted thoughts that lifted him instead of sinking him. The third principle was emotional authority. Most people live like leaves in the wind. They react. They absorb. They panic. But Jonathan began practicing something greater. Before responding to anything, he paused. He breathed. He chose his response from principle, not pressure. This single habit changed the climate of his entire life. The fourth principle was the law of elevation. He realized that environment is the silent teacher of every dream. So he reshaped his surroundings. His workspace became simple and clean. His tools were ready. His goals were visible. His distractions were removed. He lived in a place that supported his mission, not challenged it. The fifth principle was the vow of steady stride. He learned that greatness is rarely built in dramatic bursts. It is built in quiet repetition. One honest effort each day. One finished task. One choice that honored his purpose. One step repeated enough times becomes a destiny. The sixth and final principle was the pledge of becoming unshakable. Jonathan wrote this sentence in his journal. I move through life with calm power. I hold my peace as my greatest wealth. I choose direction over distraction. I act from purpose, not pressure. I follow my own inner court. When he finished writing these words, he felt something shift inside him. It was the same feeling a person gets when they make a promise they truly intend to keep. A promise that changes the path beneath their feet. Jonathan walked through the rest of his day with a new presence. His eyes were steady. His tone was calm. His movements were intentional. People sensed something different about him. They did not know what had changed, but they felt it. Some respected him more. Some drifted away. Some tried to test him but found he no longer responded to chaos. He no longer chased approval. He no longer hurried. He no longer carried guilt that was not his. In time, Jonathan discovered something surprising. When a person becomes unshakable, life begins to rearrange itself around them. Opportunities opened. Respect increased. Confusion vanished. He became a person others trusted, not because he tried to be pleasing, but because he was grounded. Jonathan stood again by the river at sunset months later. He remembered the man he used to be, worried, reactive, overwhelmed. He smiled softly. He had walked from chaos into clarity. From noise into stillness. From doubt into purpose. He understood now what Mr. Alder meant. A person does not need the world to change its weather. A person only needs to carry their own. And Jonathan now carried a climate of calm authority that no storm could overturn. The final truth came to him as the sun disappeared behind the water. Power belongs to the person who knows their purpose and protects their peace. That person becomes a force the world cannot shake. Jonathan whispered one final sentence to himself. I am that person now. And with steady steps, he walked toward the future he had chosen. If this story inspired you, remember to subscribe, share, and comment. Your support helps bring more motivational stories to life. Your journey matters. Your growth matters. And your next chapter begins now.